Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Rocio and this is Risa's Rizzos, and in today's video I thought that I would do just a very informal get ready with me chit chat video with you all while I'm putting on my makeup. I will be filming a couple of videos today, and so I thought why not just kind of chat with y'all, because I haven't done this in forever. I feel like the last chit chat video I did with y'all was like 2 years ago or something like that. I'm just gonna let my hair air dry while I'm putting on my makeup and talk to y'all because I miss you, okay? But hello! Hey y'all! It's been a while, right? So much has happened since our last chit chat. For one, I'm married. My wedding ring's upstairs, sorry. But yeah, I'm married. I have moved to another city, Baton Rouge, here still in Louisiana. And I'm pregnant. And a pandemic is happening. So I am currently 33 weeks pregnant while I'm filming this video. So who knows when y'all are gonna see the video. Hopefully y'all will see it this week. But yeah, I'm 33 weeks pregnant, which means I've got 7 weeks to go if Penelope stays put, if she's patient. If she's a little late like her mama, then even better. If she comes early, then that's just gonna be a bit of a terrifying experience for me. To be honest, this is my first pregnancy, and with what's going on right now with the stay-at-home orders and all of these rules put in place, I've been going through the motions. Like, it hasn't been fun. Y'all heard me complain a whole lot in the beginning of the pregnancy about the nausea and just how miserable I had been feeling, and you know, how pregnancy for me in the beginning wasn't really all that fun. Well, now, you know, that I was starting to get used to the fun parts of the pregnancy, which is basically me leading up to the wedding. I was showing and the nausea had gone away and all that stuff. I was surrounded by family, I was surrounded by love, and then bam, COVID-19 happens. I took it seriously from the very beginning. And my first reaction was, we need to prepare. We need to get our hand sanitizers, our masks, gloves, like whatever it takes, you know, to protect ourselves and then also protect other people. Not really knowing what the virus was like at the time. Obviously, I knew I was pregnant, but I didn't have any prenatal appointments coming up to where my pregnancy was like the main thing on my mind. Yes, I knew that I wanted to take every precaution necessary to protect me and my baby, but it wasn't like dwelling in my mind what pregnancy was going to look like for me for the next some odd months, right? Because I think when all this started, I was 6 months, if I'm not mistaken, six going into 7 months. So it wasn't until we realized that we weren't going to be allowed back in Bye Bye Baby. We went to Bye Bye Baby to go buy a gift for a friend of mine for her baby's baptism. And we were just like looking around at the things that we could find, but weren't trying to register there on the spot. We were like, we'll just come back next week or 2 weeks from now and scan what we need and ask professionals what their advice would be on things that we are interested in registering for, because this is our first pregnancy, this is our first baby. We don't know anything about babies. It wasn't until we realized that we weren't going to be able to do that anymore that it was kind of like, well, what am I gonna do now? Like, okay, we can't go to the store to register, so I'll just do it online. But with me doing it online, I was like, I don't even know what I'm looking for. That's where I asked a lot of you all for advice and tips on what was necessary when it came to our registry. I even had some of you share your registries with me, your previous registries with me, to kind of get an idea on things that we can add to ours. On top of that, and the whole being prepared or not prepared kind of thing, I had signed up for classes at our hospital. You know, the labor and delivery classes, the Lamaze classes, the grandparenting classes to go with my mom and my dad. All of a sudden, I'm getting emails saying that these classes are going to be canceled due to the stay-at-home order and, you know, keeping your safe distance from other people. I was like, crap, because again, I'm a preparer And this is my first baby, and I don't know anything about babies. Lance doesn't know anything about babies. Things just started to hit me a little bit more. Not even weeks, like as the days went by, it hit me that, okay, this isn't going to be the pregnancy that I was expecting. And then my next prenatal appointment that I had, I got a call from the hospital saying that no visitors were allowed to come with me, including my husband. That sort of hit us both the same, because we were expecting to have Lance at all of our appointments, and then to know that, okay, well now I have to go by myself. So here I am having to go to this hospital for my prenatal appointment by myself with gloves and masks, and trying to get used to the madness of it all, I guess. It was scary. Like, I didn't want to go under these circumstances to this appointment by myself. I was terrified. So to know I couldn't have my support person, my husband, there with me, it freaked me out. They were screening everybody coming into the hospital, asking you, have you come in contact with somebody who has tested positive? Have you been experiencing any symptoms, like a high fever or coughing or problems breathing or anything like that? And so if you had passed that initial screening, you got a wristband. And then even after you get a wristband, going into the hospital, they still take your temperature just to make sure that you're okay, that you didn't have a fever. So that was my first experience as a pregnant woman going to visit her doctor in the middle of a pandemic. And that's when she started to ask me how I had been feeling about all this. And I told her basically everything that I've told you so far. And then she said, I can't imagine what a lot of you all are going through right now, not being able to, be around family. And that's when it hit me at that moment. I am going to be doing this without my family. We obviously didn't know how long it was going to be. I think at that moment it had only been a couple of weeks, or maybe even a couple of days. It was in the very beginning stages of when this whole pandemic really grew in the US. But at the time, I guess I just assumed that I will see my family again. I had just gotten married, okay? I had just seen my family. The last time I saw my family was March 1st. I'm extremely close with my family and extremely close with my mother. And this is my mom's first grandchild and my first baby. And I've always envisioned my experience, my pregnancy experience, my first time being a mother, to share that moment with my mom. Yes, of course, sharing these moments with Lance is important, but there's something about that dynamic between a mother and her daughter, and sharing these milestones and these moments with your mom that they were really important to me. So it hit me at my appointment that, she hasn't been able to be around. And, I don't live 5 minutes from my mom anymore. I live an hour and a half from my mom. That distance, plus knowing that I won't have her around, has been really, really hard for me. And if you've been following me on Instagram, then you know how hard it's been for me, because I've expressed it a lot. I haven't cried to you all yet, but I've cried to my husband about it. I've cried to my mom about it. I have had my mother-in-law here. She actually works at the hospital that I'm going to be delivering at. And so it's been nice to have a motherly figure around, and one that is also pretty well informed on what's been happening in the hospital. Having her around has been very helpful, but it's just, it's not the same as having your own mom. I miss my mom so much. So at that moment when all this had started, we realized we were about 3 months away from my due date, and we were planning to have a baby shower. We had just set the date for the baby shower, and then this happened. We decided to go with the virtual baby shower. It wasn't ideal, but it is what it is. If it's what we had to do, then it's what we had to do. We haven't had the virtual shower yet. That's supposed to be coming in a couple of weeks, I think. Some of you have been so kind as to send gifts already, because I did share the information on our virtual shower. It's going to be on Zoom. We shared where we're registered on Amazon and Target and Bye Bye Baby. So if you guys are interested in coming to our virtual shower, then I'll leave the information to that down in the description box below. But the whole thing about the shower, and I'm sorry if it's a little loud, it started raining and it's pouring outside now. The whole thing about the shower, it left me a little disappointed. I guess, okay, put it this way. All the experiences leading up to where we are now have been, or the majority of the experiences have been just kind of disheartening. You know, it's unfortunate, but we have been taking things one day at a time. The whole thing about the baby shower is where I think the disappointment started for me. It's when I realized that my reality with this pregnancy hasn't been fair. And I've struggled with these emotions for a pretty long time now, for a couple months now, because part of me is like, it's not fair. It's not fair. You know, it's my first pregnancy. You have all these ideas of what the experience is going to be like, and then life shifts in another direction that you would never, I mean, nobody would have anticipated something like this happening, you know, in the middle of a worldwide pandemic, okay? Part of me was struggling with, you know, I am not okay. I am disappointed. I am angry. I am sad. And then another part of me is like, it's not right for you to be feeling these things because you're being selfish, because there are so many other women who have gone through worse experiences. And it's merely you not being around your family, and you not having a shower that you wanted, and you not having your husband at these appointments. Like, one side of me was having all these emotions and trying to feel the validity in those emotions, and also not really finding anyone that understood what you were going through. And then another part of me was like, you can't have those feelings. Like, that's so stupid. Like, people are dying and you're worried about a baby shower. You're worried about not having Lance at your appointment. I was just kind of tossing back and forth with these emotions and holding it in, and just going through these moments where I'm just crying all the freaking time because it's just been hard, you know? Lance has been so understanding and so patient with me during this pregnancy. My hormones are already all over the place, and then on top of that, I'm like crying even more now because it just doesn't feel normal. But at the same time, I don't know what normal feels like. This is my first pregnancy. I don't have anything to compare it to other than the experiences that I've seen other women have with, you know, being showered with love from family and gifts and maternity photos and these Pinterest perfect nurseries and all this bullcrap that we have to compare, because we live in a world of Instagram where everything is perfect. So you just assume that your pregnancy is going to be perfect too. And then when it's not, you're like, why did I get the short end of the stick? Then I have been reminded in my DMs that my feelings are valid. I would share little things here and there about what I had been experiencing and feeling, and I've been overwhelmed with support from a lot of you who are already mothers or who are also pregnant during this time, saying, I've been going through the same thing. If you were pregnant during this time, saying that you were going through the same thing, or if you were already mothers, saying that my feelings were valid and that it's something serious that we're going through, and no, this isn't a normal pregnancy. So it's just I'm just trying to take things one day at a time. A couple weeks ago was the anniversary of my grandmother passing, and I know that that day is really hard for my mom. So I asked Lance, I was like, look, what if we just wear masks and gloves and just stay outside at a safe distance from one another? Like, can I just have my mom over? And we thought about it, and we talked about it, and we agreed that that's what we would do, provided that, we would keep a pretty safe distance. And that day meant so much to me because I finally got to spend time with my parents, and my mom finally got to see my bump in all of its glory. And even at the end, before they left, they were able to feel her kick. and that was something that was very special. My mother-in-law has been reminding me that although these are unexpected times, that I should still document them, because I told her that I don't really have a lot of like weekly photos of my bump because I've just been down. I was like, why? Like, why would I want to share or save these memories that are just depressing me? And she says that although these are unexpected times, there's still a memory that you're going to want to share with your daughter or your son. And she's right. You know, I did get a baby book, a pregnancy book, and I started writing what's going on with what we're going through right now. I started writing about the pandemic. My mother-in-law had gotten me some newspaper articles that had front page news of the pandemic and what's going on. And so that way in the future, when Penelope's like, well, Mom, why didn't I have a normal baby shower? Then I can be like, well, because I wasn't allowed to be within 6 feet of another human being. And if she sees photos of Lance and I with masks on and she's like, why are y'all wearing masks? I'd be like, well, because there were more than 80,000 Americans that died because of COVID-19. I'm hoping that she will understand in the future why we had to go through what we are going through right now. So there was another moment that hit me like a ton of bricks. I was starting to get a little jealous of all these people who were sharing photos and stories with their families and just having a good time. And I realized that I hadn't been around family since the wedding, and I broke down crying because, you know, my mom had sent over a photo of the family get together at the pool, it wasn't a big family get together. It was just my parents and my brother and his girlfriend. Like, I had this urge to just swim. I don't know. Again, we'll blame it on the hormones. And that day we had set up our crib. Earlier in the morning, I was feeling like I was nesting. Like, I've been in this nesting phase, and at that time that we were setting up the crib, I wasn't really thinking about anything other than we need to get this nursery done. But then it's like when I started getting the photos and the text messages and just the information about how everybody was enjoying their Sundays together, and I was like, we are still at home. It hit me again, and I started bawling, crying. I feel like I should title this video, How Many Times Did Rocio Cry During the Pregnancy Because of COVID-19? The reason why I was so emotional is because I felt like I hadn't really spent time with family since the wedding. There's a big chance that I won't see my family again until after the baby's born. And then even then, I'll be stuck at home. I'm not saying that having a baby is boring or anything like that, but from the stories I've heard from other mothers, once you have your baby, you're going to be home for a good amount of time with that baby. And Lance is eventually going to go back to work, but I will be home with the baby. And my fear before any of this happened, before I even got pregnant, was one day when I have my baby, there is going to be a big chance that I'm going to go through postpartum depression, because I already have, you know, issues with anxiety. I've had issues with depression, and knowing that I've had that in the past, there is a really big chance that I'm going to have that after having the baby. And now with what's going on and knowing that there's a big chance I won't have the help that I thought I would have, that's one of my biggest fears, is that I'm going to be battling postpartum depression in the middle of a pandemic still. Quick update on what things are going to be like in the hospital. You're usually, in my hospital, allowed up to 3 support people in your room. That is usually for, you know, for labor or just like in general. When it comes to delivery, though, that drops down to 2. With what's been going on now, that has been very much so limited to just 1 support person. I at least have that because I do know that there are some hospitals that aren't allowing, or that weren't. I don't know if things have been changing right now, but from my understanding, from what I've read in the support groups or the Facebook groups for this pregnancy pandemic group that I'm a part of, that there are some hospitals that weren't allowing any support people. This has all been really scary. I had a really close friend of mine who was fighting for her life Okay, she had gotten the virus and was fighting for her life. And thank God that she, came out of this. It was much longer than the 2 weeks, and my poor friend wasn't able to see her baby or her husband at home. Even after she had gotten home from the hospital, she wasn't allowed to make contact with them for, I don't remember how many days it was, but it was a pretty long time. I mean, even a couple days would be too long for anybody. I know for me, I don't know what I would have. I don't know. I just found out a couple of days ago that my uncle has the virus. Then we found out the next day that his daughter had the virus, and his grandkids had the virus, and his son-in-law has the virus. And so basically the majority of them in the household and then in another household have the virus. And so they're trying to get over it. And it's scary because that's the first case that we have of someone in our family. So I had my friend who had gotten the virus very early on when all of this had happened, and then I didn't hear of anybody else. I heard of like friends of mine who had family members get the virus, and they also went through really bad experiences. And then now having somebody in our family have the virus, it's just, now it's like really close to home. And I've always said, because I've been ranting on Facebook a lot, I feel like a lot of people who don't know anybody that have the virus just assume that it's, not that big of a deal, or just assume that it's not as big as what the media is making it out to be. It's serious. It's a real thing. I feel like I'm trying to be serious and I'm like squeezing my eyelashes while talking to y'all about this. So last night I was having another crying spree, and I honestly don't really remember what set it off this time. But I just started thinking about, and here I am like battling back and forth with like my words because I don't want to sound selfish, but it's just how I feel. I started thinking about, well, when she's born, she won't see family right away. And we need to have rules in place for visitors, and how strict or how lenient are we going to be with these rules? And if it was just for our health, like Lance and mine's health, I probably wouldn't be as freaked out about it. But this is a whole other human being that we're bringing into this world that we would probably be freaking out about in general, just keeping alive without a pandemic. So with what's going on right now, it's like I'm taking even extra precaution. It's like a motherly instinct. I don't know what it is. I was like, are we going to ask people to get tested before visiting our baby? Is that too much to ask for? Are we going to ask people to wear masks? I mean, yeah, I would definitely like to ask people to wear masks when visiting the baby, but mask is one thing, but then asking people to get tested is another thing. And then what if there's a vaccine that comes into play later down the line? Are we going to ask people to get a vaccine? It's weird. I feel like subjects like that are a little touchy, especially when it comes to people that you don't know, And Lance and I just got married, and we're still getting used to each other's families, and that whole thing of not wanting to offend the other party's family is one thing. So I don't know what's going to happen. I started thinking about that, and then I started thinking, well, what if we just can't have visitors at all? And the way things are looking, there are countries that did open up and did lift their stay-at-home orders, and then there's like a ridiculous spike in deaths related to COVID-19, to where some of these countries have had to close their doors again and have had to put in place that stay-at-home order again. And there's a part of me that feels like the same thing is going to happen in this country, and the same thing is going to happen in this state. And if that does happen, then we can go months with this still happening, to where holidays that are coming up, the end of summer, and we have fall coming, and Halloween and Thanksgiving and Christmas and New Year, and just knowing that these are going to be my baby's first holidays. She won't remember these holidays coming up. There's still memories, there's still our memories with our baby, and these would be memories that we would share with our family normally, and that's not going to happen. So I started freaking out last night a lot, and he eventually calmed me down. Was like, it's gonna be okay. God is on our side. God has a plan for all of us, and it's gonna be fine. We prayed. I went to bed, and I woke up with a different mindset, I guess. Again, just understanding that I need to take it one day at a time. And then my friend Tiffany, she's the one who had survived COVID-19, okay? But she shared a video with me that Ashley Graham had posted on her Instagram. And it's about an older woman who's 100 years old who is sharing her experience about being born in quarantine, basically. And that it was around the time of the Spanish flu? This is the last big pandemic that happened 100 years ago. When I tell you, I saw that and I cried my eyes out again. I feel like I've been crying every day so far in the last 2 months. It was very emotional. I'll also leave that video link for you all down in the description box below. We were made for this, okay? We are strong. We can get through anything, all right? If this has happened before, where women have had to go through pregnancies and deliveries in the middle of quarantine and in the middle of a pandemic before 100 years ago, then I know that we can do it now. Not only that, but my mom likes to remind me. I remember I cried to her one day when I found out that there was a chance that Lance might not be in the delivery room with me. And she was like, well, you know what? If it comes down to that, you're covered, because you come from two very strong grandmothers, okay? My abuelitas are very strong, one from Mexico and one from Honduras. And they have had together 15, not together, but you know what I mean, like collectively 15 children, okay? And the circumstances that they were put in when it came to delivery, it's probably not what you would want to go through, right? Like, they weren't all in hospitals, and some of them were in circuses, and you know, some of them, the majority of them, were not with doctors. So, you know, if they can do it and I come from their bloodline, then I can do it too. That's something that was very encouraging to hear from my own mother, who is very strong herself. This I may or may not regret, but we're gonna add a little pop of color. Okay. Yeah. Whew. So I shared with you about what things are going to be like in the hospital. So I have at least Lance is allowed to be with me. I do plan on having my parents help here in the house, provided that they do quarantine at home and they don't go anywhere and they don't have any visitors or anything like that. So far, what the hospital policy is like, I've been told by my doctor that all of the patients that are going in for delivery are being tested for COVID-19. If you are tested positive, then there is a moment where after delivery, they do take your baby into some kind of like isolation, like baby isolation area or something like that. And the mother isn't able to hold their baby. You're not able to have that skin to skin. You're not able to hold on to your baby. You're not able to have those moments with your baby. They basically put your baby in another room. People don't realize that you can be asymptomatic, meaning that you can carry the virus and not have any symptoms. So you think you're fine. You think you don't have the virus. You don't wear a mask in public. You go out, you go to your friends, you go to the grocery store, you go to all these places, and you are giving other people the virus. My doctor said that if you are asymptomatic and you test positive, then same thing applies. You still will not be able to hold your baby at the time of delivery. So I think that's something that scared me a whole lot, because here we are, we've been taking every precaution necessary to make sure that we are safe and that we are fine here at home, but you just never know. And my fear is that when it comes time for delivery, that I'm going to be tested, and my fear is that I'll be tested positive and that I won't be able to hold Penelope when I give birth to her. So that is the last fear that I'll share with you guys. Okay, nobody would have anticipated any of this happening We were fine. We were fine, what, 2 to 3 months ago? We were surrounded by family and loved ones. We got married. You know, it was the happiest time of my life. My heart breaks. My heart, oh my God, my heart breaks so much for all the women who have had to either cancel their wedding or postpone their wedding. If they were supposed to get married during this time, they haven't been able to have, you know, the wedding that they had been planning. I wanted this I feel like my chit chats are always like down and somber and stuff, but it's just something that's been on my mind, and I felt like right now is a good time to share, just because I've had a roller coaster of emotions in the last couple of weeks, and in the last 48 hours, and in the last couple of hours, because I saw that video on Facebook today. If you have been struggling with your emotions and your feelings during this time, whether you're pregnant or not, you know, my heart goes out to you. I will be praying for you if you're going through anything that you need prayers for, and let me know down in the comments below, and I will keep you in my prayers. Follow me on Instagram for anything behind the scenes related, for any updates on the pregnancy. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed already, and give this video a thumbs up if you think COVID-19 sucks. Okay, that's it. That's all I'm asking for. I love y'all. Un besito, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye. Let me show you the belly. This is the bump. I've resulted to wearing Lance's shorts because none of my shorts fit me anymore, and to be honest, the maternity pants and jeans are starting to get a little uncomfortable. This is where we're at, okay? So, it's just still moving. All right, let's go eat.